What's up, shooters? My name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Shoutout titled Wave With It. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves a track on YouTube there, the official lyric video. We're going to listen through this from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's do it, let's go. Great atmosphere immediately.
Wave with it, vampire, slay with it. Motion like the ocean, coast to coast, she wave with it. She bad though, wave with it, vampire, slay with it.
Great charisma to the vocals as well.
Coast to coast, she Reese's Pieces, sweet as gold. Munchers wanna eat it though. Michael Jackson beat it though. Encore, repeat it though. Ain't no motion like your motion, you just floating. Addicted to your potion, diving in your ocean. What she do really can't be taught. I see it every time she walk. No key, got it on lock. The boat done left the dock. Let me try the boat. Take you to my hideaway. Body T like Angel Reese, but she ain't got no time to play. She bad though, wave with it, vampire, slay with it. Motion like the ocean, coast to coast, she wave with it. She bad though, wave with it, vampire, slay with it. Motion like the ocean, coast to coast, she wave with it. Wave with it, wave.
Great adjustment here at the hook.
Wave with it. Wave with it, left, right. Wave with it, step in the light. Wave with it, left, right. Wave with it, we step in the light. Wave with it, 10, ain't no pretend when she all in. Set the trends, so she ain't sweating them. Wave runner, they wishing you stayed under. Popping early spring, vibing till the late summer. Mesmerized when I look in your eyes. Johnny Gill say my. Real player like Tootsie Roll. T-double-D in the wind with the drone. JT still don't trust these hoes. And I ain't trying to be no savior. Left, right, ride the wave. Fresh like hide your babe. Bad though, wave with it, vampire, slay with it. Motion like the ocean, coast to coast, she wave with it. She bad though, wave with it, vampire, slay with it. Motion like the ocean, coast to coast, she wave with it. Wave with it, wave with it, wave with it, wave with it. Left, right, wave with it.
Great call and response here as well.
Wave with it, we step in the light. Wave with it.
And that was the track, short and sweet. Enjoyed my time listening through it. We're going to talk about it more though in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Shoutout titled Wave With It. In this section, I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production, as well as any applicable constructive critique, and then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? My take or interpretation on this is, because there's a lot of wordplay in here, and we'll go into that in a moment, but just effectively we're discussing how we're trying to get with this person that we're quite infatuated with. We're discussing all the ways she sets the trends, for example, so that she isn't sweating them, taking her to the hideaway, etc., you know, letting them drive the boat. There's a lot of clever lines in here that are kind of niched within their own sort of like sets, but they do correspond or go to the next line of the stanza. And so I appreciate that we're not just repeating these hook lines of wave with it in those post-chorus sections, such as in the second and third, and that we are adjusting those choruses with the different lines, as well as the call and responses that we have vocally, especially near the end, going back to the verse and at the end of the track, but that we're also really paying attention to making each sort of like word we say count to an extent there. We're showing both our ability to communicate as well as our clarity and sort of like polish as a vocalist, but also, again, our creativity with lyrics there, a bit of a sense of humor there as well. So ultimately, I think we do tick the boxes there. It's an interesting story. You know, got Michael Jackson beat it though, encore repeat it though. It's like words like that, you know, ain't no emotion like your motion. It's good stuff. Vocally, we're really comfortable on the microphone. We have a great sort of charm and exude charisma, and we're clearly very keen to be there. There's never a moment where like we are confused about the purpose of being the main focal point of the track, and I appreciate that primarily because in this day and age you need to retain attention, and it's very difficult to do so unless you know what you're doing. So it's just fantastic to hear someone who is polished, has a great sense of rhythm and flow with their lines, adjusts things as required, but knows to repeat them in the hook lines to make them catchy and get inside the listener's head. And they're very comfortable, I think, with being the main focal point. There are some sub leads, but very much the vocals are at the forefront, which is kind of par and parcel with the genre as well, which is totally fine. Again, it's the story they're trying to tell, and in this sort of like 2-minute 20 form factor, we're not overstaying our welcome, especially with the slick transfers between and the adjustments in midsections. I will say though that again at 2 minutes 20, it's just fantastic to have that really kind of chill, low-key starting point there with some of the vocal chops that we have there kind of floating over the kind of watery, I don't know, it kind of seems like you're floating under the water. The kind of lushness of some of those tones there envelops the headphones. How like kind of like pretty and beautiful. And I think part of it's also the visual experience, audio-visual experience with the visualizer you have behind the lyric video. But just like those like kind of plucks there and the way they echo and kind of like reverberate are fascinating. And like the heavy reverb tails kind of have like a mystical atmospheric feel to it. Like it's very cool. When we come into the main hook line there around like the 15-second mark, we're very comfortable bringing in those full drum kits, sampled kicks, snares, etc., cymbals, as well as the 808s, the bass lines. I think that's just a sensible sort of like approach there. There's an immediate sense of dynamic adjustment there, but it's not in a way which is overdone. It's quite tight there with the way the response occurs, and I like the excitement that occurs because of those 16th note hi-hats or cymbals that you've got alongside the on-beat and syncopated kicks and snares. And we adjust the flow of those kicks as well. Sometimes with songs you'll just get like one sort of dun dun, but we are making a little sort of like changes to these ideas as we go through to not let it be too blunt. I also appreciate that when we introduce the drums, we don't just keep them going the entire time. It's nice to allow some of those mid to upper textures to be there by themselves in isolation to allow a sense of sort of faux dynamic range for compositionally. And we adjust those hi-hats as we go through the piece, da-da-dun, to sort of add some rests there and make it a little bit less predictable in a way that kind of catches you out. These kind of like ethereal sounding synth or keys that we have kind of sparkling at some points, like around the vampire line there, are kind of charming. And there is this mid-range focus as well with the bass going on there, so they do stand out. Combined with those vocal chops there, it's just very kind of dazzling in general there. We make great use of the opportunities present within the frequency spectrum and the various octaves and pitches. What I kind of dig as well when you have those cool responses with the vocals at the end of those chorus sections there, we go backwards and forwards with differently filtered vocal takes. So it's almost like we're aware that those vocals are like a sub layer. It's like different people having a conversation, even though it's the same person kind of popping off of themselves. Like it's like someone's talking through a phone or something like that. It's distinct. And I just dig the fact that that's a way, because I feel like if we hadn't processed or produced it like that, it would have just been a little bit kind of awkward. I think thematically, like with all that considered, it is minor leaning, like it's in the minor key, but it's not a super kind of like sad or depressing track by any means, in part due to the speed of the track, the proficiency of the rhythm and drums, and sort of like keeping that energy up with the kind of the presence of the bass, keeping things kind of high octane to a certain extent, despite how low key those extensions within the chord progressions are. I think the way that it kind of floats there, and there's not a whole lot of kind of speed, like the 16ths are mainly with those hi-hats, for example, as well as, again, Shozo going at it with a mixture of different chord notes and 16th note grooves, as well as some really fun da-da. Like the kind of sassiness of that flow is a really kind of spicy thing, but it's just so distinct within the track, and almost the edge to it contrasts with the rest of the more sort of relaxed surrounding elements in a really positive way. But part of that comes down to both distinction and from a production perspective as well as polish. Effectively though, I think, yeah, the extensions within the harmonies, chord progressions, the way they're sort of spread around the frequency spectrum are just really sort of like pleasant to listen to. And again, even though it's minor oriented, it's more sort of like chill, kind of like low key, not trying to sort of like be too over the top with, even though we're clearly excited to be around this person that we're talking about. So I like it. I think it's a really pleasant track to listen to. Studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering wise, in general, it's commercial grade. I appreciate the polish on the vocals from the recording perspective. They clearly can just do their thing on the mic, but it's also great use of compression, EQ, and reverbs, etc. when required. They're filtering to get the different sort of like adjusted measures of vocal takes. You've also got the vocal chops there as a nice sort of ambient melodic kind of addition there in parts there, like an instrument, as well as any of the keys, the pads, the bass, the drums, and anything else I missed, that sort of air candy-ish, potentially some risers and stuff like that. And yeah, generally just really solid effort in general with the studio production. You know, there's dynamic range to it. Things aren't too squeezed or overcrowded there within the mix. There's room for things within the stereo field. Things bounce around the place. No weird resonances in the frequency spectrum. There are occasional parts where I think things are filtered to be a bit more low-key, but that's simply to allow elements like the vocals and stuff to adjust to be more present on top of them. Nice and loud, sidechaining to the kicks, you know, pumping, bus compression, limiting is handled. And no real applicable constructive critique. I mean, you could have potentially have adjusted the feeling of that final chorus there, or sort of like had like an additional lead kind of do something different just to further kind of illustrate a sense of change or kind of finality to it. But I do nonetheless appreciate a sense of minimalism in that regard, because we don't maybe want to sort of like oversaturate things there with the vocals still being the focal point. It's still catchy as hell. And from a general listener's perspective, it's just been really pleasant to listen through this track. I felt like I was in safe hands the entirety of the time, and clearly just really care about this person, and that comes through both within the music as well as the vocal performance itself. But I wish everyone involved the best of luck in future with their music and otherwise, because thank you for watching my review of this track from Shoutout, titled Wave With It, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SB Reacts. Spider hands out.